Good morning. Nikki Burnett here, Taste Life Nutrition. I have something up way too far. Don't know what. Anyway, hey, how are you? Nikki Burnett, Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com, where we bring on really some of the most amazing people. My sound is bad. Anyway, so today we've got Kat Granville. Sorry, Kat. Who has really an amazing, unique, inspiring, crazy story to tell. And yeah, I don't know what the sound's doing.
Number one is up too high.
Like that?
Yeah, and the top one too. Number two also. There.
Better? Okay. So we're going on 4 years of doing this, and it never fails that there's something that I kind of mess up, including not starting my lives. Oh man, Kat, it's nonstop with live. It's just real, and I just screwed up all the time. Anyway, so Kat is Kat's been a friend for a long time, and I have watched her go from this single woman to this amazing mother with an amazing story that's unlike probably any that I have ever heard. New term called free birthing is new to me. And so, yeah, Kat, thanks for being here. I'm so excited to hear all of the story. I've only heard part of the story, and there's a lot going on here. But this is something that I think it's important for people to hear and to know about if you are looking at growing your family, expanding your family. This is not to talk anybody in or out of anything, but to give information, because I think it's a really beautiful story, and I think we can all grow and learn from it. So, Kat, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I know, me too. I'm excited to hear all the gory details, because it's going to be a lot of fun. At least fun now that you're past it, I think, right?
Yeah, the first 3 months, yes. The birth, I would birth every day if someone gave me the option. It's a really great challenge. But the 3 months of twins is
yeah,
little deal.
That's a lot. So interestingly, one of the first things that she said to me after she had the kiddos was, "I think I'm addicted to birth." I was like, what? Never in my life did I think that I would hear something like that.
Never in my life did I think I would say something like that.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to jump in, but as always, the first thing we do is gratitude. Gratitude can change the world, right? Gratitude radiates from here, from the heart, from the mind, out into around the people who are around you, and it just keeps going. So I fully and truly believe that gratitude can change the world. So, Kat, what are you grateful for?
Okay, so I'm grateful. I'm glad you prompted me with this question beforehand, even though I'm grateful for a lot of things in my life. I am really grateful for my husband. I'm very blessed. He is a really good man. And falling down from that is I'm grateful for my family. So I think today it's just like, yeah, he's such a good human, and has really taught me a lot and opened my heart and opened my mind and soul to so many things. And then you'll hear why I'm so grateful for him, because he was so there for the birth. So yeah, I think today is a day where I'm really grateful for my husband.
Awesome. Yeah. That's I have been that way for the last couple of weeks. We were just talking before the show about my 18th anniversary, which it has been my gratitude for the last 2 weeks. So probably shouldn't be today, although it's every day, the gratitude of having a man in your life who is strong and giving and full of heart and love. So yeah, I totally agree. I think, though, what am I grateful for? Like you said, there's so many things to be grateful for. I think I'm just going to say that I'm going to put it out there that I think we're going to go to Mexico, go diving. Yeah. And so I'm always grateful to be able to look forward to a trip that is fun and with friends and family and on the beach. Anybody ever listens to this show, you know that I like beaches where I want to be. And so we just got back from Hawaii, which was awesome, by going to Mexico and doing some diving there. And I think in Cozumel, I think is the plan, hopefully is the plan, where there's supposed to be really great diving there. So I'm grateful for these opportunities that come up that allow you to experience life, experience the world, experience a place where we're not supposed to be, right? I mean, we're not supposed to be underwater because we don't typically breathe underwater. And so, yeah. So anyway, I think that's what I'm grateful for. It really is, I think the opportunities that life presents to itself is probably the bigger thing that I'm really grateful for. And, just these gifts that God gives us is, it's really amazing. It's a good life, right? So, all right, so let's do this. Let's just start with wherever you want to start that makes sense for you, because a lot of this I think is going to be new for a lot of people, and I want to just kind of start with what makes sense for you.
Yeah, totally. So if people don't know already, I actually had twins on July 4th. And I called them surprise twins, but we did know like 2 weeks ahead of time that we were having twins. But the whole pregnancy.
So 2 weeks. Let's not run over that, right? So you knew 2 weeks before birthing your babies that you were having twins.
Yeah. So the text I sent you this morning is like I tried my best to do what we call is a wild pregnancy, and I didn't do a fully wild pregnancy, so I can't actually own that. But I tried my best to just like trust my body, trust that like my body knows how to like grow and birth humans, because innately that's what we're created to do. And my first birth and pregnancy was so wonderful with Madeline, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of do it. And we were in Denver most of the time, so I didn't actually get to see my midwives in person except for the initial appointment, and then when we got back around 36 weeks. So I only saw my midwives, I think, a total of 4 times, maybe 3. I'd have to look back at the notes. But and at the first appointment, which was I think I was 9 weeks pregnant, or maybe 10, I don't know. They checked for the heartbeat, and they found a faint one, and I let them use the Doppler, which there's like 3 different ways to find the heartbeat. There's the fetoscope, which is like the heart scope, and then there's the Doppler, and then there's the ultrasound, which we don't do anything typically, except for the first one we do a Doppler. And they found a very faint heartbeat, which was fine, because typically you don't find it before 10 weeks anyways with the Doppler. So we're like, okay, that's good, and we got some blood work done just to make sure all my blood work was good to go, and then after that it was like hands off pretty much. And I had a couple phone calls with my midwives, but nothing crazy. And so I fully like wanted to embrace like my innateness to be able to like have a wild pregnancy and kind of let my body do what it needs to do. So with that, I was like, I really am kind of interested in this free birth movement that's going on. It's been around for a long time. Free birth is actually like, it's like becoming a fad, but it's actually how we're supposed to birth.
It's kind of from the beginning, right? I mean,
right. So it's not really a fad, but
isn't that the way it is with everything these days, though? Is the things that are traditional and the way that it's supposed to be and the way that it's intended to be is now the new fad. I'm like, does that really make sense? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So just so the viewers know, I have to get a baby at some point. It might be in the next 5 minutes because we're down for nap time, but I can multitask. So yeah, I mean, we really just wanted to do something supernatural, and for some reason in my heart, I just really desired to birth at home with my husband only, and my daughter obviously too. But I love my midwives, and they're really 2 wonderful women, and they did such a great job with Madeline. So I was like, we'll just use midwives. It's fine, And we're like supporting local women doing things that are changing the world, right? So I was just like, it's great. And so we were planning a midwife birth at my house, same old thing, no big deal. But for some reason, I was like, I kind of like went in to like follow the free birth movement, and I bought this book by a woman named Heather Baker, who's a traditional midwife, and there's like 16 different types of midwives, but a traditional midwife is someone who's almost like self-trained, and like they don't have to license, and they don't have to follow rules and laws and all this stuff. So I bought this book. It's called Birth on Your Own Terms, And I just read through it just so I have a general idea of like, if I were to end up birthing on my own, what are things that I need to look out for? How's it work? What's the process? You know, because when you're the person birthing the baby, and I want to say birthing person, but the person birthing the baby, you're in like a different realm. Like you're not really there. You're there, but you're like not. I can't like see the outside looking in. So I just wanted to have a general idea and talk to my husband about it and stuff like that. So I just happened to read this book, but we had no plans on free birthing at all. So I was like, I'll just read this book and whatever. And so we go through the pregnancy. The pregnancy is much harder on me. And I'm like, am I just a weak person? Like, what is happening? Because the first pregnancy was so great. I was like, this is easy. I'd have like 10 kids. One. So hard. It was like I couldn't work out as much. My sleep was just terrible, you know, all the things. So, yeah, we get back, fast forward, 36 weeks, I see my midwives, and before we came back, I had called them, and I had, like, talked to them. I was like, hey, you know, I've been listening to the Birthing Instincts podcast, and that's by Dr. Stu, who's an OBGYN who doesn't practice anymore in the medical system. He only does twin and breech home births.
Oh, wow.
I just really love listening to that podcast. He's really knowledgeable and he's very like outside of the system. And I read this book and I said, I know Montana's laws, midwives cannot deliver twin or breech.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, so I don't want you guys palpitating my stomach, which is what I feel to see the positioning of the baby, and I don't want to do any more heartbeat checks. And they're like, you have so much time, you're fine, and you're not carrying like twins, and if you didn't have a breech birth the first time, it's very unlikely you'll have it the second time. And I'm like, okay, if you say so, then it's cool, you know? So I'm like, you can do what we need to do. Because with midwives, and my midwives especially, like, it's all about informed consent. So if I don't want something done, I can decline it. Mm-hmm. So, and they can also drop me as a client, right? Because like, it doesn't align with them, that's fine, but so like, okay. So my midwife, who's like 25 years of midwifery, said, you're not carrying like twins, so I'm not saying, you know, I don't think you're having twins. That was huge. Mm-hmm. That was huge. So anyways.
Huge and all belly. At least the last time I saw you, you were all belly.
I was all belly, and that's probably why it was so painful, because it didn't like, it was definitely all belly. I gained 50 pounds, and with Madeline I only gained 25. So at my 36-week appointment, everything seemed normal. They found a faint heartbeat. With the fetoscope, sometimes it's hard, especially if you have a posterior baby, which means the back is towards the belly. It's harder to find, but I was like, it's fine. And so then the next appointment, they come to your house because they just want to kind of see where we're at, where we're going to birth, and kind of get a feel for what we're going to do when they get there. And I have two midwives. My one midwife, she felt my belly and she's fine, and then they left, and then we went to our next appointment, and it was like 38 plus 3-ish. I don't believe in due dates, but 38 plus 3.
I love that you say that. And so let's stop there just for a second, because I think it's really important. Of course, this is coming from a person who has never birthed a child, but I believe that we should. There are times there are emergent situations, right? There can be, but to say that the innate wisdom of the body and to a higher point of God is not the smartest thing, right? The smartest part of what we're doing. I find it to be really problematic. And I believe, and it's my understanding, that they started doing this and giving due dates because it's at the convenience of the physicians. Yes? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
So the due date goes off of the first day of your last period. So they calculate that you're 2 weeks pregnant by the time, like, because like after your first period, it's like about 2 weeks when you're your most fertile, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
So they're saying you're already 2 weeks pregnant when you actually had conception. So if you think about it, like, I've known women to go to 44 weeks, like in my more natural Facebook groups, like there's some women who've gone to 44 weeks, and it's like, you're not technically 44 weeks. If you go by the medical system, you are. But, so that's why like they have a hard cutoff in a lot of states where you can't go past 42 weeks. You're automatically induced or C-section or whatever. And it's at the convenience, and they'll say it's because of and I'll get into this, but the stillbirth rates and things like that. And yes, that is a real thing. Stillbirth is a real thing. It's really sad. And yes, obviously you want to be in tune with your body and know what's happening. If you feel something's not right, obviously then you need to go and have something helped, right? But I think they changed that. They put that due date, that time clock on you just because it's convenient for them. It's especially harsh because they say twin pregnancy is just so high risk.
Yeah.
And no, I think our society is high risk.
Yes.
It's the due date thing is such a hoax in my opinion. And I like to put in there, I believe in Western medicine for when it is necessary.
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. But there's times where we utilize it, we think birth is this, totally traumatic event that has, no, that's not it. It's not a medical event. It's a totally normal human event.
Right. I love how you say that, yeah.
I just want people to know, I don't hate the medical system when it's necessary.
Yeah.
The times where it is necessary.
Absolutely.
And we've made it more necessary over the times, over the years, because we're so unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And we rely on it, and it starts from birth. It starts from pre-birth, actually, preconception. But I do believe in it. And I don't hate it.
Yeah.
But I just know myself, and I'm not high risk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a high risk patient. I did not need the medical system for my birth, and that's to be true. And the due date thing is the factor that throws everybody into this craze.
Do you mind if you tell everybody how old you are?
Oh no, not at all. When I had the babies, I had just turned 35.
Okay.
So technically, I'm a geriatric patient.
How terrible that there's still that term that's being used. I mean,
it's so sad. And women, they cling to that so hard when the doctor calls them geriatric. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, we're not geriatric. And long time, women have been having babies into their 40s.
Yeah.
Long time. One of my really good friends, owner of BirthFit, she just had her first baby at 40.
Yeah, nice.
Happy, healthy baby home birth at 36 weeks, just beautiful. It's the reason it's geriatric is, again, because our health is so declined now. It's so declined, and our death rate, we're dying earlier and earlier and earlier because of our health. So, our viewpoint as a family is we do everything possible to be preventative. We work out, we do mindfulness, we do sleep, we focus on the right things. Mm-hmm. And we stay healthy so we can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's this, it's a sad place that we're in. There's also a good healthy trajectory where people are starting to open up and their minds are starting to open up to what is actually healthy and what is mindset and what is, healthy movement, what is healthy eating, and all of these things. But we're in an age where we have so much information and there's so much more knowledge, but everybody's so confused and so frustrated, and so they don't understand. It's just this lack of true understanding of what good health is, which is so bizarre to me when we have so much information. And with that said, the medical community, we are still, like you said, we're dying earlier, we're getting sicker and sicker and sicker when we know so much more than we used to know.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's mind-blowing. I'm going to grab a baby really quick, so hold on 1 second. I can keep talking, just grab a baby super fast.
The beauty of having 3 children and 2 twins, well, 1 set of twins, and I think that they're 6 months old, I believe. Something like that. Anyway, she'll let us know. But they're
going to be 4 months. Here's one.
4 months.
Hi. This is Isla.
Oh.
So we do contact naps in this family.
Mm-hmm.
She's really our talkative one, so I could hear her the whole time. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so loud. But
I didn't hear her.
They'll be 4 months, and hold on, let me pop this open.
Yeah.
So, it's funny how the medical system really almost, they make you feel so incapable. I'm not going to bash on the medical system the whole time, but
Yeah.
they make you feel incapable as a parent to, one, raise your children and like birth your children, do all the things, like, and it's really sad that, or like even, yeah, because my husband's going to be 42 this year, I'm 35, and you know, they would say, like, they would do all the testing if we were in the medical system, and they would probably like try to give me some extra things, or say don't exercise, or give me a Clog, all this stuff, and like, it's just like I didn't need any of it, and it's proof because my body just did what it needed to do. Once I tell you the actual birth, it's wild. So, yeah, it's crazy how they do that. But my goal was to really lean into the innateness of myself, you know. So I tried my best to do that. So yeah. So at 38 plus 3, we went to our midwife appointment, and they felt my belly. My first midwife felt my belly, and she was like, "Hey, you know," the other midwife, she was like, "Can you just feel her belly and see if you see the positioning that I see and stuff like that?" Because they knew I did not want twins. I don't want twins, but and I have to admit that because I know. Hopefully, you guys are going to see. Hopefully, you know, it's just because I know that being a twin mom is harder. You know, just thinking about it, like being a mom of one is hard. So, anyways, my seasoned midwife, the one who's been doing it for 25 years, she was like, she felt my belly and she's like, "Kat, I think there's 2 in there." And I'm like, I rolled over and I just immediately started crying.
Oh.
Like, I was so mad. And my husband was just like, I don't know what the look on his face was because I didn't get a chance to see it, but I'm sure he was just as shocked, you know. So yeah, and then we went back out and we kind of chatted about things. And so in Montana, like I mentioned, they can't deliver twins. They can't do twin or breech. And most of the time when you have twins, one of them is going to be breech. So, but since I don't do an ultrasound per, I think their license, like it has to be a confirmed twin, which confirming it would be through ultrasound, from what I gathered from my midwives. And they're like, well, I was like, okay, well, if it is twins, I'm just going to decline the ultrasound, and we're just going to go at it as it's a singleton, and you guys have no idea, and we have no idea. And they were like, okay. I was like, I declined the ultrasound. So leaving that appointment, we all assumed that we were going to just birth normally and it'd just be surprise twins. You know, we have no idea. So after the appointment, my midwives texted me and they were like, you know, we're going to have to file for 2 birth certificates. They're going to know that it's twins and da da da. Which kind of confused me, and it still kind of doesn't feel right how it all went down, but this situation, you never know how to do it, I guess. You gotta just roll with it.
Yeah.
And so they were like, I was like, let's get together tomorrow and like, let's just chat and see where we're all at. You know, because neither of them, to my, like, when I asked them, neither of them have ever done twins or breech. So we went in and they're like, hey, we just don't feel comfortable. We don't want to get investigated because they'll get investigated if we have a surprise twin birth. They're like, we don't feel comfortable doing that, so we're gonna drop you from care at 38 plus 4.
Wow.
So you know, and I said this in another podcast I did. I was like, I don't ever expect anyone to put their life on the line for me, even though I would think in that situation I would maybe do that, you know, especially in the position they're in. But, yeah, it was a little disheartening, you know, that they dropped me from care. But that's what it was. And I asked them at the appointment, I was like, hey, you know, if I call you at 2 a.m. and I'm having babies, because they only live 3 blocks away, one of them does.
Yeah.
Would you show up as a friend? And one of them said, they were like, we're not going to let you, you know, be in any danger or something like that. I forget exactly what they said. And I was like, okay. So we just left it at that. I assumed that they would probably just show up if I called them. And they texted me afterwards and like, hey, my husband just doesn't feel okay with that. So we're going to pray for you, but we basically can't show up.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So
yeah.
it's, you know, like I'm 38 plus 4. I'm like, and no, barely, people who have twin pregnancies, the medical system doesn't really let you get past 38, really, because they throw all these statistics at you. And most women don't go past 36 because they're like, that's when they typically take the babies. So as I was leaving the appointment, the last appointment with my midwives, I forgot to tell this, one was like, I wouldn't be surprised if you went into labor tonight. And I was like, what? Like, why do you say that to me? Like, give me as much time as possible to figure out what we're going to do, because per their license, they have to recommend you to an OB to go to the hospital. And I'm like, we're not going to the hospital. If it was a medical emergency, then yeah, go to the hospital. Yeah. So we like went home and we were like, what are we going to do? Like, so I called all the people I knew, like the Birthing Instincts podcast is by Dr. Stu, and I know Dr. Stu through some of my connections, so I messaged him, and he said I should have a trained professional at the birth, or I should go to the hospital. And
well, I would assume if it was found out that you messaged him, that he would have to, I mean, he would have to say that. Or do you think,
he's not a part of the medical system,
Okay.
which is cool.
Yeah.
How he practices under, but no.
Okay.
He just, all his years experience, I think he genuinely thought that.
Yeah.
And then I had other people sending me their midwives numbers, and I was researching, and they, I called, I think, 2 other midwives, and they were like, yeah, definitely go to the hospital. Twins is so high risk. And then the girl, my really good friend Lauren, she was at the birth, and she connected me with her old non-practicing midwife who's been out of practice for 6 years, but she's going to be a nurse practitioner, I think.
Okay.
She came over that night, was like, let me just confirm with the Doppler that there's 2 heartbeats. And I was like, all right, whatever, what's the harm? We gotta just figure this out. So she came over, confirmed it, and then I was like, will you come to my birth? And she was like, I cannot put my license on the line. Like, I just can't do it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, so at this point, we had no professional coming to our birth. It was me, my husband, our 2 dogs, my 2-year-old, and my good friend Lauren, who's had 5 kids, said she was coming.
Yeah.
So, but I researched as much as I could and figured out, like, you know, what we need to do. So what I did was I asked my old midwives, I was like, hey, can you prescribe me an ultrasound so I can go get an ultrasound? Because I just need to see what kind of twin pregnancy this is. There's 3 different kinds. There's mono, same sac, same placenta. There's mono-di, which is separate sac, same placenta. And then there's di-di, which is separate sac, separate placenta.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what's coming out, and I want to know the position of the babies.
Yeah.
I'm not for ultrasounds. I think they do a little bit more harm than good. But I was like, I got to figure this out. So we just did one.
Okay, so can I ask you, is it okay, do you mind going into why an ultrasound has the potential of being more harm than good?
Yeah, so it's ultrasound, right? So the sound is like radiating on this tiny human, right? And we don't know, like, there's no studies done on the effects of it, you know, on humans. There's a book, I'll see if I can find it and I can text it to you, but there's a book by a guy who kind of goes into the studies of animals and things like that and like the harmfulness of it. Okay. That is like, I just can't put my baby at risk when I'm not risk myself, right? So my midwives give a sheet out for the 20-week ultrasound. That's what almost all women go in for. If they get any ultrasounds, it's that 20-week one. It's the anatomy scan. And it's mostly checking for like spina bifida, which is, if you're a Latino, older in age, that's when you're high risk for spina bifida. And I'm neither of those things. So, and then like, we didn't want to know the gender, so why would we do it? And there's really just no need for it, honestly. So my husband and I's viewpoint is that we don't need ultrasounds.
Yep.
so we don't do them, you know. And a lot of people I've gotten quite a bit of slack for that, but it just doesn't align with us. And
Yeah.
I have very healthy children, so, you know, so the risks don't outweigh the, you know, the pros don't outweigh the cons or whatever. The cons don't outweigh the pros. I don't know.
We got
so,
you.
yeah, but at 30, like when I went to the radiologist, she was like, I've never done a scan at 39 weeks. This is the longest I've ever, like, you know, I don't even know what I'm going to be able to find because it's so full in there. And I'm like, all you got to do is find 2 heads, see where they're at, and find 2 heartbeats. That's all I'm worried about. And then seeing if there's 2 placentas.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And we went in, she was super sweet. We got the anatomy, or we got the scan, and we confirmed that it was a die pregnancy, which is the lowest risk twin pregnancy.
Oh, well, that's great. Okay.
Both babies were head down.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even flirting with a breech baby at that point. Give it, the second one can always flip when the first one goes out.
Okay.
But as I tell you the final story, you're gonna be like, oh, there's no chance it was flipping anyway. So, so yeah, we did the scan and we confirmed that, and then I kind of followed up with Dr. Stu. I was like, hey, this is it. Like, do you think I could free birth? And he was like, I still think you should have a professional. But I think that's because of his years experience. Like, he's seen some things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in my heart, I knew that I had a feeling it was going to be a fast birth. And I knew if they were both head down and it's a die pregnancy, like, my risk is so low, you know. So, so we were like, okay, we're just gonna do this free birth and see how it goes. So the woman that my friend linked me up with, she called us. She's the midwife who hasn't been practicing. She called us and was like, hey, I went to church this morning and God is really pushing me to show up for you guys at your birth. So I'm going to show up for you at your birth. And I have another midwife who lives an hour north who said that she would show up, and she's been to a twin home birth. And we're like, oh, thank you, God. Thank you. And so my husband drives an hour, picks up some equipment from the other midwife, comes back down, and then on his way back down, this is the next day, she calls us again. She's like, hey, I'm having panic attacks. I can't come to your birth.
Oh, no.
And we're like, what happened to God speaking to you? But anyways, you know, at this point, we're just rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
We're like, we're rolling with it. And yeah, I'm a little stressed, but I'm also like, I don't even know what to think. I don't know how to, you know, what's going to be the deal. So that falls through. So again, we're back on our own. And we're like, cool. We're going to just roll with it. And then the woman who wrote that book, The Birth on Your Own Terms, she is a traditional midwife, and she is, where are the Green Bay Packers?
Wisconsin?
Yeah, wherever they're at, that's where she lives. So
asking
she actually
football questions?
this is a birth. She just said, she was like, well, you know, the Green Bay Packers are from, that's where I'll fly out of or whatever. So we talked to her, and she does virtual midwifery, which is not the ideal situation, but she offers it because it's helpful, you know, to have somebody on the phone, like, you know, when you don't need to go to the hospital. So, or she'll show up, and she does, she will fly in, stay somewhere, and whenever you need her, she just comes over. She's a super hands-off midwife, which is what is needed, you know, in this situation. So we toyed with the idea of flying her in, but I was like, it's just too late in the game. Like, I don't even know when, I don't know when it's going to happen, you know? So we're like, let's just use her virtually, and we did.
So, sorry, real quick. Is it, so you would fly her in, and she could potentially be there sort of on call for a week or 4 weeks or, yeah, whatever, okay.
I would assume that she comes in towards the very end.
Sure.
When there's like signs of birth coming. But yeah, it was just so unknown. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know when to have you come in, or like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna come in 2 days and then I go into labor tonight, what's the point, you know? So So we'll just use her virtually. That's how it goes. And we only live 5 minutes from the hospital, so if something were to go completely awry, we go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that in advance, and we knew what to do and knew how we were going to do it, and that's what we did. So we hired her virtually, and we had like a phone consult with her. She answered a bunch of our questions. I read her book, so I was like kind of prepared to free birth, thankfully. And I went back and read my notes on her book. And so we were just like, this is what we're going to do. And I think we confirmed that at like 39 and a half, or probably 39 and, I don't know, 39 plus 6, when I was like flirting with 40 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I also had a good friend in town. She came, as soon as we found out twins, she flew in like 2 days later. And she stayed with us for like 12 days.
Aww.
And hung out and just supported us and was great. You know, it's Deidre.
Yeah,
From,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so her and Jasper came up, and that's her son, and just stayed with us and supported us and was great. Like, the kids played together, and it was good to have a friend to talk to, like another female, and kind of just ride the journey with me, because I was super uncomfortable and like in this crazy situation, and like she wanted to be here for the birth, and I wanted her here for the birth so bad. But July 4th rolled around, which is also my mother's birthday, and I joked my whole pregnancy with her. I was like, maybe you'll have a birthday buddy. And I was due on July 1st.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went to 40 plus 3 with the twins, and on July 4th, I was just like emotional. And you know me, Nikki, I'm not a very emotional person.
Mm-hmm.
I like wanted to cry all day long. I was like, this is so miserable. I don't know how I'm doing it. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, woe is me. And yeah, you know, you just get to that place. But it's funny, like, when you get to that place in pregnancy, that typically means the baby's coming.
I was going to say, that's what my first thought was when you said you were really emotional. I was like, that's a tip. Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, in the holistic community, like, a lot of people will be like, I'm so over this pregnancy, what else can I do? And they're like, just have a good cry. Like, have a good cry and let it all go.
Yeah.
And then typically the baby comes.
It's
so
interesting.
On July 4th, Deidre was like, hey, I got to get back to work. I got to go home. Her husband had come up and we drove up. So she's like, I'm going to go ahead and head home, you know. And so she left the morning of July 4th. Just totally gets me. But that night, my friend Lauren, who's coming to the birth, she was like, why don't you guys just come out? It's like a 15-minute drive to their house. Come out and watch fireworks. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave the house, but let's go. It's fine. Because car rides were miserable.
Yeah.
And she was like, come out. And I was like, okay, God, if you don't want me going, just break my water. Like, it's like 7:30 and we're like heading out the door. And I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom and my water breaks. And I'm like, I think I'm either peeing myself or my water's.
Yeah.
And it was definitely my water breaking. And so my water broke at 7:30, and I went immediately to contractions and very little rest. Like, it was just really fast. And to my knowledge, like, if I were to guess, I was probably 5 centimeters dilated for weeks. I think I was dilated for weeks. I just felt, one baby was head down the whole time, the other one was a little bit head up, but you know, 39-week ultrasound, my baby was head down. So I'm guessing that I was dilated. And so my husband starts getting the tub ready, and Madeline's kind of just playing around, and we text my friend like, hey, you know, her water's broke, so we're not coming out. Just head this way whenever you can. And she's like, okay, I'll probably be there in like half an hour. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Don't rush. It'll be fine. I had an 8-hour labor with Madeline.
Yeah.
As soon as I started timing my contractions, I texted my friend. I was like, you better get here now. Like, she's like, I'm on my way. So she shows up. She has an 8-month-old. Yeah, she has an 8-month-old. So she brought the 8-month-old because she's still nursing, and she straps the baby to her back and doing all the things. My husband, the saint that he is, got the tub up, and I'm sitting there. I'm like just, you know, zoning out into contractions, and then I like get in the tub, and 10 contractions later, baby A is out.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't have to push. I didn't transition, which is like when you go from the contraction to the pushing stage, and most women, like, some women puke during that because it's so intense.
Yeah.
I was expecting to puke, didn't puke. I literally went from contractions to baby out. I had fetal ejection reflex is what it's called, when your body just automatically shoots the baby out.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so I didn't have any of I didn't have to push. I didn't push at all. The baby just came out. And then, so I caught baby. I was leaning forward on the tub, and I caught baby A, which is Isla. She came out first, and she was, red-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go. Didn't come out in her sack or anything. So then I roll over onto my back, and 9 minutes later, baby B comes out, which is Arian, and she came out the same way. I didn't have to push or anything. She just came out, which is awesome. It's crazy. I think we really mess with birth. The medical system really messes with birth because it was not that hard. And so they're both still attached to their cords, but when baby B came out, she actually wasn't fully colored and she needed some breath. So I gave her one breath, and then my husband, I made him get in the tub for baby B. Poor guy. I don't know if you know all the stuff that comes out of the body when you have a baby, but
there's a lot of stuff.
He's like holding my leg, holding baby A, helping me catch baby B. And so I put a breath into her mouth, and then he takes over and gives her a couple of breaths. And he said to me at one point, he was like, I feel like I'm gonna have a special connection with her because I breathed life into her. And I'm like, it just still gives me chills and makes me want to cry because it's so amazing that there's someone who would, he did that. He just stepped in and just did it. And I don't know a lot of men who would do that. So I'm very blessed to have him. So he did that, and we're trying to keep the baby above water, keep me above water, and we're waiting on the placenta. So we decide, we waited 20 minutes and the placenta wasn't coming out, so which is totally normal. Totally normal. Moms are pulling on the cords. So we ended up, my friend Lauren actually cut the cords, which was pretty cool. And she takes both babies and is handling Madeline and having a baby strapped to her back. She's just a saint too. This woman's amazing. And she gets them all cleaned up, and Roth is handling me in the tub because we're still just waiting on the placenta to come out. So at that point, we called the midwife, Heather, and she kind of guided us through what tinctures to take to help with getting the placenta out, because my body was probably just tired and it just stopped contracting. So
when you say tinctures, just for clarity, you're talking herbs, right? So herbal tinctures to help everything continue.
There's a company called Wish Garden. I'm sure you know of them. They have two really good tinctures, Angelica and Woundstringe. And I believe Angelica is before the babies come out or before the placenta comes out. You can take that to help with, I think, blood clotting or helping your body contract. And then Woundstringe is the heavy duty one, which we needed to have her order for us or give us a code to order because it's a pretty good tincture.
So did you order it beforehand?
Yeah, we had it overnighted. It cost us $60 to get it over. But you have to have it in hand. Yeah. Because in the medical system, you would take Pitocin or Cytec, and I'll tell you about that right after I finish this. Yeah. We're just more natural-minded, and I don't think we need all that. So, at birth, you lose a lot of blood. You lose blood, and I lost quite a bit of blood. But I needed to help my body kind of start contracting, and so I took some more Woundstringe, and my placenta was so big. It was two placentas, but it was fused together, so it was so big that it kind of got stuck on the way out. Oh. So 20, 25 minutes later, Heather was like, okay, Roth, when she contracts again, I need you just to kind of twist the placenta. It just looks a little stuck. Yeah, it's not in there still. Nothing's retained. So as soon as my body contracted, he just twisted a little bit and it popped right out. Wow. Right out. So it was huge. Big. I have very healthy placentas. My midwife said Madeline, the one that Madeline had, was the biggest placenta she's ever seen. Well, competitions, but
so on the placenta, did you do anything with it?
I didn't with this one because when we do, so with Madeline's I had it encapsulated, which I'm still 50-50 on whether I believe that or not, and that's more Chinese medicine. Because as humans we don't actually consume our placenta. We're not a mammal that consumes it, but there's been studies done that it helps with PPD and PPA. Yep. I never consumed any of my placenta with Madeline, even encapsulated. It's still in the freezer.
Okay.
But with this one, I didn't do anything with it soon enough because I didn't even plan ahead. I should have gotten it encapsulated, honestly, but you have to do it within 24 hours.
Okay.
So I didn't do it. So it was sitting in the fridge for like a week. So I just kind of pulled it out. I kind of looked through it. I have a video of it, and I put it in a bag and we put it in the freezer. And I think at some point when we're on some land, I'd love to bury it.
Okay.
And plant a tree or something, because it's just such an epic part of my life that I think it just needs to grow from it too. So we'll probably do that, but I have it in my freezer, and it's huge. So
it's huge.
The thing is huge. I just can't even. My mind is blown how big it is, but it was heavy. And then I had the babies were born at the first one was 7 pounds 15 ounces. The second one was 7 pounds 12 ounces.
Wow.
So I had very healthy babies. So I was carrying around a lot of weight, and it was great to just unload that.
I can't even imagine.
My belly was kind of pendulous, so that means it hangs out and down. So the babies weren't kind of tucked back. Yeah. So that morning when I went into labor, the July 4th morning, I actually took a ring sling and I kind of tucked my belly back, and I think that would kind of help kickstart some stuff. But I had to tuck the babies back and in because they were just so far out. I was all belly.
And what did you call it? A what sling?
I think it's a ring sling. So it's like a carrier for a baby, but you can also tighten it up to where it kind of pulls the belly back. So I did that.
So it's supportive, essentially, right? It's supporting and
yeah, pulling it back to where the babies are supported by like my legs and not just like pulling my back forward and arched and stuff.
Yeah.
So
okay.
But so in typical scenario, like after a baby's born, like the medical system or even midwives, and I think this is great having this as an option. You can get Pitocin, which is also what puts you into labor, and it basically helps clot the blood, keeps you from bleeding out, or Cytotec, and sometimes you have to do both. And I'm sure there's some other ones out there, but we had a secret benefactor send us Pitocin, which was great. We had some on hand, and it gives you a little bit of peace of mind because during the whole situation, the 2 weeks, like there was some negative stuff coming into my world, and I was like, get this out of here.
Yeah, sure.
Midwives, holistic midwives telling me I should go to the hospital. I'm like, come on, think in your heart, like, do you really think I should go to the hospital?
Yeah.
You know? So it's hard to block all that out. So just having that on hand was really great.
So I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, but I can't help it. I feel like there's just so much fear. And I don't know if we hit on this or if I said it earlier in my promo or whatever, but it's so much of it is based around fear. And I feel like even in the holistic world, there's still that there's some conventional training there, right? There's still an association with the what could happen and what we're used to and what we do today versus what we did, 1,000 years ago, or whatever the case may be. And I can kind of get it, but I also am more in line with you, and I get that as well. And I want to make sure that everybody, you listen to you, right? You make your own decisions. But the fact that you really listen to your body, you listen to your intuition, you did your research, you talked to people, you did all of the things that you should do to make a decision like this.
Yep. Yeah, and the medical system and the society and all the things happening pull women as far away from their intuition as possible.
Yeah.
Because women are very intuitive, and they have to be in touch with themselves. So if we can pull them as far away from that as possible, they become dependent on the system. They become dependent on doctors telling them how to feel. And I'll say this, like, I know my body best. No doctor knows my body better than I know my body. But I can understand how women are pulled away from that, and how it's like, I don't know anything about this. Like, I need to trust this doctor. And it's not a healthy way to live. It's fear based, like you said. It's very fear based because I've had quite a few people tell me how I like put my children's lives in danger because I went past 38 weeks because stillbirth rate goes up so much after that and all this stuff. And I'm just like, relative risk versus actual risk. Like, the actual risk for me is not really there because of who I am, who my babies are, who my husband is. Like, he's a huge benefactor to the pregnancy. So it's like all these things, and I weigh the options, you know. So I think the fear system is just really heavy these days.
Yeah.
You know, we just went through it in a lot of ways in 2020 and beyond.
Yes, we did.
It's just there, and they pump it because
So
money.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
You know, it's down to money and control, and I will fight that till I'm dead. I don't care. So yeah, I just don't, I don't fall to it. I do a little bit, obviously, because it got in my head a little bit, but then
Sure.
I actually had a really good friend tell me, she was like, I think you need to stop searching for help and answers, and I think you need to just do what you do. And I'm like, that makes sense. And that put me at peace because I kept like searching for another midwife, another person to be at my birth, another medicine, you know, all this stuff. And I'm like, I just have to stop searching. The more I search, the more stress I get.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I'm glad I tuned into it, and my husband was super supportive. So, you know, we had 2 beautiful, healthy babies born in an hour and a half.
It's just
It was
amazing. Truly amazing.
Yeah. Both babies were out by, I think it was 9:15, 7:30, 8:30. Yeah, hour and 45 minutes, sorry. Both babies were out. It's crazy. So after that, I did lose a lot of blood. So they ended up having to drain some of the water out of the tub, lower one of the tub rings so I could like lay down flat, because when you are losing blood and you're about to pass out, they make you flat. And then they turned the couch around, and my husband and my friend Lauren picked me up and just moved me from that to the couch, and I just laid there from, you know, probably 11 until 11 the next day, so 12 hours. I never moved. And the weeks following, I realized I did lose a lot of blood, but there are really great supplements that help with that. I'm not saying everybody should do that. Sometimes you need a blood transfusion, but I did everything possible to avoid a blood transfusion and going to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking, there's a really good supplement by Heart and Soil, and it's called Lifeblood. It's the blood of a bovine. And then I took chlorophyll, which is a natural blood builder.
Yeah.
And with those, you have to take some vitamin C, because for your body to absorb it, you have to take, to absorb iron, you have to take it. I got my blood test, and I basically had no iron in my blood. I was super pale, very white. I was getting like nauseous in the middle of the day and stuff. So I did everything I could supplementally, and then I just kind of went off of feel, and I was like, if I don't feel better in the next 2 to 4 weeks, I will definitely go get what I need done, you know, with the medical system. And my babies were nursing just fine. They were growing, they were having wet diapers, sleeping, crying, pooping, peeing, you know, all the stuff. And yeah, I turned a corner and everything was fine. The lifeblood was totally a lifesaver.
That's amazing.
So, you know, just doing your research and knowing when to go and when not to go is like huge.
So
you know?
I think that that's the interesting thing, because that would be unnerving to know you've lost a significant amount of blood and you're still losing blood. And so, but you knew when you needed to go. Is that what I'm understanding? You knew signs because you did your research.
Yes. Yeah. You have and getting some blood work done. So we have it's called concierge services up here for. So we pay, and I'm happy to mention why we pay to see him. Have him. We pay $25 a month for Madeline, and we've gone twice. But he was kind enough to do blood work for me, even though I'm not a patient of his. And I just wanted to see where my blood levels were. And my friend Deidre read the blood work for me, and she was like, you know, and he was like, you're borderline transfusion, but take these and take vitamin C, and you should be fine. And we'll retest in 2 months. And I'm like, great. And Deidre was like, yeah, borderline, but you know, just do this and this. And she gave me some great tools, and Funny enough, my midwife was like, I think you might want to get a blood transfusion. And I was like, we're just going to wait and see, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I did the necessary steps because I was feeling terrible, and I'm a pretty healthy person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, you know, I'm like, I do not feel good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So yeah, we did the necessary steps, and I wasn't opposed to going and getting a transfusion if it was completely necessary.
Right.
Oh, and I like talked to my friends. I was like, "What blood type are you? What blood type are you?" And none of my friends are, you know, got that lovely thing that they required a while ago. So
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we did one checkup with the doctor who's super friendly on what our plan is.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we were still TBD on getting a birth certificate, so we wanted to make sure we had some proof of birth, for whatever reason, if we decide not to or to get a birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was like, they're healthy, good, everybody's growing, you know, and one of them's 14 pounds now, the other one's slightly under 14 pounds now. So
amazing.
He's doing good, and I'm exclusively breastfeeding. I don't
Mm-hmm.
own any bottles or anything like that. And
Yeah. Wait, you don't own plastic bottles, plastic nipples, and all the plastic?
No. I know a lot of people need to do that because women work these days, but we also don't have a dishwasher, so I'm like, I'm not doing more dishes first off.
Amazing.
The most natural thing to do is for you to nurse your babies, and there's a lot of farce around that too. We do a whole other podcast on that because the way they get women to like get on formula is just mind blowing to me. Like,
amazing. It's disgusting.
They make them think they are incapable of keeping their humans on. I'm an underproducer. No. You're undernourished, you're undernutrients, and your doctor is telling you lies. Because I guarantee you, your body grew those 2 humans, so it's going to produce enough milk for those 2 humans if you support it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and my supply has dipped, and I can feel it. They're fussier, and I'm like, oh, I'm dehydrated. Let me drink some more water. I haven't eaten lunch today. Let me eat some food. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things around that really piss me off. But I'm just like, I will feed these babies exclusively until I can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Until it's, you know.
Yeah.
And I fed my first one until 16 months and then I weaned her off only because I was not knowingly growing twins, and I was super depleted.
Yeah.
And she was fine. And we drank raw milk, so she was happy with raw milk.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All in all, like, it's a great experience, and if you're a healthy human, I say free birth.
Mm-hmm.
I say do it, and I'm happy that, like, there's so many tools out there for you to do it.
Yeah.
Just get yourself out of the system.
Yeah. Good for you. I love it. And I think it would be a good idea to come on to talk about breastfeeding and all of the things that you just hit on, because I think that's a topic that needs to be talked about. And this is the stuff that I don't know anything about, right? Everything that I do is preconception. It's like getting prepared. You're talking now about all of stuff that's the after stuff. I'm like, people need to hear this, need to know it, and like you said, when possible, get out of the system and do it God's way, you know? I think sometimes people take from me because I think I lack a lot of emotion and empathy, but I'm not shaming anyone for the story that they do, you know, like you choose your own path, and that's the way it goes, but it's all about like, know better, do better, and I think people take shame from that too. It's like, but you can educate yourself, see 2 sides of the coin, like see it all, hear the story, like don't shame me for going to 40+3, like, you know, do your research and choose your path. Like, absolutely.
Choose it, and that's fine. But like, no, but like down the line, there's some repercussions. Like, there's things that happen, and like, it's just like, just knowing. You have to know, and you have to research, because they try to hide everything nowadays and fear you into it. So.
It's true, and it really is. I mean, my big thing is just accountability. Right? You take accountability for yourself. You take accountability for your actions. You take accountability for what you put in your body and on your body and in your environment and all of the things. That's really what it is. And with that, when you have the education and the knowledge, then you make the decisions. That's all I ever want from any of my clients is let me give you everything that I know, and then you're going to take it with you for your lifetime, but you're still going to make your own decisions.
Exactly. And I think like that's on like a big subject of like accountability, like take personal responsibility and like do it. And I think that's what's missing in today's world, and especially the birth world. Like, you know, so take personal responsibility and do the best you can with what you know.
Yeah.
You know, and lean on people that you trust, that live the life that you would ideally want for your children. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's and the last thing I like to touch on is like support is huge. Going from finding out to afterwards, like you need to go to your support team and block out all the people who are negative and giving you these like super negative vibes. Because I talked to 2 midwives that like go to the hospital. I'm like, I don't need you in my life. Like, get out of here. Like, get out of my bubble because I gave you all this information and like it points towards free birthing. Like, stop.
Yeah.
You know. So support system. Deidre flying up. My friend Lauren stepping in. My family being supportive. My husband, oh my gosh, having your husband on board, huge. And then, you know, just bringing in the midwife that was like, you're fine, you're gonna do this, it's great. You know, just listen to your body.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, just get your circle and hold them close and block out everybody else.
Awesome, I love it. So real quick, there's something that I came across for anybody, and there's someone who is who is watching right now, who I want to make sure that this is out there. I'm sure you know it, but I thought it was interesting. So it's a podcast called Free Birth Society, and there are lots of these podcasts. I thought it was so interesting. Every podcast, there's 250 podcasts about free birthing and people's stories and what they're doing. And so I think that is, but when I looked it up, I was like, holy smokes, there's so much information out there. Yeah.
So there's a huge movement going on in even the midwives. So the reason my midwives couldn't do it is because of the government and their licensing, right?
Right.
So the indie birth movement is like independent birthing, and like there's midwives who are not renewing their license, in which I do feel like licensing is helpful, right? It holds people to a standard.
Sure.
But when dirty people get their hands on it, they're like, no, midwives can't deliver after 42 weeks. You have to go to the hospital. Midwives can't deliver twins, even though they're trained in it. No, you know, and it's like those stupid rules like that.
Yeah.
So midwives are letting go of their licenses now, a lot of them, and they're becoming traditional midwives. They're becoming a woman who shows up to support a woman in birth, and that's what it should be, you know.
Yeah.
So I think the movement that's happening is taking us back. A lot of things are taking us back, and I hope it happens faster. I hope it happens while I'm still alive, because I want to see it. You know, I want to see traditional things come back.
Yeah.
But I think it's a huge movement, and the indie birth is a good one. The Free Birth Society. There's some other ones that are really good. If I can find them, I'll send them to you if you want to put them in the show notes. But there's just some really good things to follow. And then Heather Baker, she's a queen. She is doing great things. Instagram's a great place to follow her, but she has that book, Birth on Your Own Terms.
Okay.
And honestly, anyone who is just wanting to know more about birth and know about complications or anything, it's a great book to read, and it's very easy. It's like straightforward.
Awesome.
You read it, you know more about birth. So
I love it.
Yes, that's a good one. Free Birth Society for sure.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. We're running a little long, which is totally fine. But what I want to make sure of, because I think it's important that you are also an entrepreneur and a business owner, and I want people to know about that, because I hear, every now, as I'm networking and listening to people, is like, man, I could use a VA. And I'm like, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Right, yeah. So yes, first and foremost, I'm a wife and a mother. That is my goal in life, but I also am a business owner, like you mentioned. I own a company called Charter Creatives. It opened in 2019. My coworker, I call her my business partner, my left and right hand, her name is Ruth. She works with me, and we're virtual assistants. So we do a myriad of things, anything from answering emails to managing your Google Drive to project management to email, all kinds of stuff. So, and between her and I, we have probably about 10 clients, and then we also just brought somebody else on who's going to slowly ramp into doing some other things for us. So 2024 is hopefully the year of growth. Because I know when I found out I had twins, I was like, I can either go close my business down or pass it to Ruth and get completely out of it, or I can help grow the company. And I honestly think I'm at a place where I think I can grow it, but you know, I have to grow my team first because obviously my first job is a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we do virtual assisting for people all over the country, which is awesome. And we're always grateful for referrals. So if anybody needs a virtual assistant, you're welcome to hit us up. But yeah, I'm trying to do it all, you know, and some days it's humbling and some days I'm thriving.
Superwoman, yeah, yeah. Well, and so I mean, I'm a client, and I don't know if I've been a client since 2019 or 2020. I don't know, but it's been a while.
I think yeah, it's been a long time. I think like yeah, I think it was probably late 2019. I have to look back, but yeah, I think we started out pretty soon after inception of my company. So,
Yeah.
but Ruth and I have both been virtual assisting for probably 10 years. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, you're one of the OGs of the group.
So funny. I had no idea. And it's funny too because we met at the gym, which is awesome. And
I'm also a fitness instructor.
Yeah.
But that's
yeah.
when people are like, "Hey, give me a workout." That's all I do at this point. But one day I'll get back to doing that.
Well, it's been a game changer, and I think really the game changing moment for me. So Ruth was helping me. She's been my sort of helping me throughout this whole time, and you some, but really so much Ruth with so much of what we do. But she sent me an email one day. She says, I think this is how I can help you. Because I was like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm not even sure. It's so weird when sometimes you just don't know how you can be helped. And
Yep.
she listed it out and went, you just changed my world, right?
Yeah,
And that's the way that it's been. And at this point, it's just turnkey and it's perfect and it's awesome. And I'm excited about your new person.
Yeah, I want to say too, I think, yeah, with entrepreneurs, that's a really common thing. They never really know what to hand off because they're so used to doing everything themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome. Like Ruth is super intuitive, and so am I. When I have the opportunity to really get into it, Ruth is more into it than I am at this point.
Right.
But it's really helpful when we're here. But like we see what's going on, and we're like, I can do that for you. Like you don't have to do that, you know. And
So
then
helpful.
there's like times where I'm like, okay, if you're an entrepreneur, just write down all the things you hate doing that you're like avoiding, and let's see if we can do them for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
they gotta get done, and we can get them done in a timely manner. And we actually like doing it. It's just like the weird thing, you know. There's the creatives and the admins, and it's just kind of symbiotic relationship. And they do all the stuff this one hates, and they do all the stuff this one hates.
It's perfect. I love it. Cool.
So,
all right. Well, thank you. This is awesome.
thank you so much for having me and letting me tell my story. Like.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people need to hear the story, and I really appreciate you giving me space to do that.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can talk postpartum one day. I have a lot of good resources for that. But yeah, and if anybody ever needs any help or wants to know more, you can always reach out to me. I'm an open book.
Cool. Awesome. I love that, and thank you for that. I think that we definitely want to have you on again. I think this is a topic that needs to be talked about. If we'll get you back on, I think we're booked out. I don't know if it's February or March at this point, but get you back on sometime around that time if it works. And yeah, that'll be awesome.
I'll know more about postpartum by then too. So.
Right.